Anthony Hopkins and Antonio Banderas are the heroes behind The Mask of Zorro.
Jeremy Irons and Melanie Griffith star in the controversial remake of Lolita.
And Ben Stiller hires Matt Dillon to find Cameron Diaz because there's something about Mary.
Antonio Banderas is the man who makes the sign of the Z in The Mask of Zorro, one of 5 new films we'll be reviewing this week on Siskel and Ebert, plus a look at the newly enhanced Zapruder film of the Kennedy assassination. I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune.
And I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times. Our first film is The Mask of Zorro, and this is a surprisingly well-made and entertaining movie about the legendary Man in the Mask who fought for justice in Mexico and California in the early 1800s. There are actually 2 Zorros in the movie. The first, played by Anthony Hopkins, is Don Diego, a rich nobleman who disguises himself to fight against the tyrannical rule of the local Spanish governor, who in this scene is about to execute 3 peasants chosen at random just to draw Zorro out. 20 years pass. The evil governor, responsible for the death of Zorro's wife, puts Don Diego in prison and raises his daughter Elena as his own. But now the original Zorro is out again, old and gray, but undertaking the training of a bandito who can carry on the legend. His young student is played by Antonio Banderas.
Good. Good. That is good. Time for a drink. Never attack in anger.
The young Zorro falls in love with Elena, who is being raised by the governor and knows nothing about her real origins. They meet as Zorro is stealing a horse.
There are dangers made about.
And again when he hides in a confessional.
You have broken the 4th commandment.
You killed somebody?
No, that is not the 4th commandment.
She's played by Catherine Zeta-Jones. There's a lot of swordplay in the movie, including this scene where Zorro and the governor's daughter begin as enemies and are gradually overcome by mutual attraction. Midway through a summer dominated by special effects, it's entertaining and refreshing to see a movie where the characters and the story come first. Oh, sure, there's a lot of action and a lot of effects in The Mask of Zorro, but also a lot of storytelling and even some sly humor. The first Zorro movie was made in 1920 by Douglas Fairbanks Sr., and if he were to come back today and see a movie like Armageddon, he'd think Hollywood had lost its mind. But if he saw Mask of Zorro, I have a feeling he might like it, and so did I.
Well, I had mixed feelings about the picture, and it broke down this way. Really liked Anthony Hopkins, didn't care at all about Antonio Banderas.
You're kidding.
No, I mean, I just saw that as sort of predictable, the Latin lover, all the cliches there.
Well, Zorro is a Latin lover. I mean, it's a movie about a Latin lover named Zorro.
Yeah, but they don't have to do all the cliches. Hopkins is fascinating.
Well, he's always good. Yeah.
Well, this is tough. I mean, what does he have to work with, really? Think about it. I mean, he's not working with a major compelling character.
Well,
he makes it.
He's got a lot to work with. He's playing Zorro. Right. His wife is killed. His daughter is stolen from him. He trains the hero. Yeah. He gets the daughter back.
But he does it in dialogue. He's interesting in dialogue sequences that are not particularly exciting, and it's just remarkable. This guy is compelling on the screen. He continues to be, and again, in a role that I wouldn't have expected, one of the most compelling actors we have right now.
Yes,
it's fantastic. I really admire it in this kind of seemingly throwaway role. Okay, next movie. And our next film is called Polish Wedding, and it's a working-class slice-of-life drama that for me existed more as a collection of individual moments and scenes than as a fully integrated movie. A blue-collar couple in Detroit, played by Lena Olin and Gabriel Byrne, have 5 children, 4 sons and a daughter. They also have some big problems. She's been having an affair, and he's enraged, but in a romantic, colorful way that is typical of the lyrical tone of the film and undercuts any realism.
You drive me crazy.
You drive me crazy, too.
You've been driving me crazy for years.
Another problem is their daughter, Hala, played by Claire Danes. She fools around, which makes her an odd choice to lead the Virgin's Festival parade conducted by the local church.
How does the priest know?
Know what?
If a girl's, you know, how does he know if she's a virgin?
He can tell.
How?
Same way you can tell if anyone's a virgin. By looking.
Where?
Now, there's nothing terribly wrong with Polish Wedding. It's just that it took me over familiar territory, the colorful ethnic family, slowly. A marginal thumbs down for me.
Yeah, a marginal thumbs down for me, too. I felt that the movie was more of a conceit than a real look at these characters, or for that matter, a real comedy. It seemed to want to create these very colorful characters and then didn't really believe in them enough to really go with them and wanted to concoct these scenes, which in many cases really seem to be artificial.
Exactly. They take it to a very surface level. They do the writing for the remarks that they want to communicate. But any real challenge, any real jeopardy with these characters, I mean, you know, real confrontation is missing.
With Lena Olin, I could see that she could play a character like that in a much better movie. I could see
sure.
all of the acting talent there.
Gabriel Byrne, major talent.
Not enough of the writing. Okay, coming up later, Jeremy Irons in the long-delayed, controversial Lolita. Coming up next, Cameron Diaz and Matt Dillon in the screwball comedy, There's Something About Mary.
Oh, is he looking at you? What's he doing down there?
No, I...
Oh.
No, I wasn't...
Mom, wait.
I wasn't...
Cover yourself, cover yourself. Ow!
We got a bleeder! None of this ever happened to Woogie.
Ben Stiller plays a high school senior with the most embarrassing injury that any man can have. In an early scene from the raucous new comedy, There's Something About Mary. The mishap brings a sudden end to his prom night with Cameron Diaz, a girl he continues to worship for the next 13 years until he finally hires private investigator Matt Dillon to track her down. Dillon finds her, sees that she's still a babe, and lies to Stiller because he wants her for himself.
Was Mary a little big bone back in high school?
Big bone? No, not at all. No.
I guess she packed on a few pounds over the years.
Oh yeah? So she's a little chubby?
Oh, I'd say about a deuce and a half. Not bad.
Dillon's own dates with Diaz get off on the wrong foot when he uses a tranquilizer to soften up her neighbor's suspicious dog.
Would you like a little clam dip, doll?
No, thank you. I'd love a bundt cake if you have one.
Bun cake?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
That's Lynn Shay as the neighbor with the skin that looks like beef jerky. When Ben Stiller finally has his own long-delayed date with Diaz, he also has problems with the dog. This time, it's on speed.
Are you the little guy making all that big noise? Huh? Hmm?
There's Something About Mary is crude, vulgar, cruel, insensitive, scatological, perverse, and politically incorrect.
You left out gross and raunchy.
And it's also gross and raunchy. It is also far and away the funniest movie so far this year. One big, rolling, explosive laugh is rare enough in a movie comedy, but this one has 5 scenes that left me roaring with disbelief. The actors are just right. Cameron Diaz is a cheerful, good sport in the middle of the carnage. Stiller is a hopelessly sincere geek, and Dillon is the villain with no conscience. The movie was directed by Peter and Bobby Farrelly, who made Dumb and Dumber, and our own favorite comedy, Kingpin. And they strike again.
They sure do. I remember I put Kingpin on my 10 best list.
Yes, you did, yeah.
And, hey, listen, they made Dumb and Dumber. This film ought to be called Gross and Grosser. I mean, because these guys are absolutely fearless. They take a comic situation and push it farther than any other directors would conceivably do, because other directors would say, you can't do that. The audience will be turned off. You know, we'll get in trouble. No, these guys go for the extra shot. I mean, for example, the shot with the guy with the zipper thing.
Yeah,
There is an extra shot.
Close-up in there that...
There's a shot that, I mean, it just, I howled. I mean, that one still makes me laugh if I think about it. And I admire that they had the guts to do it. I mean, they're really special, twisted filmmakers.
A lot of directors would just stop with the first laugh. Oh, we had an accident with a zipper.
Right.
They build and build and build. And that's what's so much fun. It's just liberating.
It is.
To be able to laugh so loudly.
And, you know, other kinds of comedies are sort of easy to imitate. But to imitate these guys, I don't know. I think it's pretty tricky.
They're originals.
You got it. That's the word I was looking for.
Coming up next, a new version of a modern classic. Jeremy Irons stars in Lolita when we come back.
A normal man, given a group photograph of schoolgirls and asked to point out the loveliest one, will not necessarily choose the nymphette among them.
Jeremy Irons plays a school teacher mourning the loss of a teenage love when he was a teenager, who is still attracted to teenage girls in this latest film adaptation of Vladimir Nabokov's controversial novel, Lolita, which has aroused controversy and stimulated debate ever since it was first published in 1954. Early on, the Irons character, a European named Humbert, takes a room at the house of a widow, played by Melanie Griffith, who has an attractive daughter nicknamed Lolita and played by newcomer Dominique Swain. Is she a self-aware tease? Humbert says she isn't, but the film argues otherwise.
And these are my lilies. I love Lily. Lily's a nice name, don't you think?
Beautiful.
Humbert quickly becomes part of the family. Later in the film, when he and Lolita travel cross-country, at one lodge, they encounter the other main mysterious character in this story, Claire Quilty, played by Frank Langella. It turns out he shares Humbert's obsession for young girls.
That child of yours needs a lot of sleep. Sleep is a rose, the Persians say. Smoke?
Not just now, thanks. Good night.
Enjoy.
Like most stories of obsession, Lolita devolves into anger and recrimination.
Leave me alone, you pervert!
You're running away from me. I know what you're doing.
That's
I
right,
know what you're
I am.
doing.
Anyone would try to run away from you.
Show me.
This version of Lolita is lightweight, in my opinion, introducing and then teasing its scandalous subject matter only to end abruptly. Unfortunately for its director, Adrian Lyne, his film is going to be compared with the work of one of the true masters of the cinema, Stanley Kubrick, whose own brilliant version of Lolita was released back in 1962. This version of Lolita is more straightforward, clinical, and less disturbing. I guess pedestrian is the word I'm looking for. Adrian Lyne's Lolita will open theatrically next week in Los Angeles and will air on Showtime beginning August 2nd. Rent the Kubrick version is my recommendation. I saw it 6 days ago, and it was fantastic.
Kubrick's Lolita is not one of his best films, and this film, although I think it also falls short of the novel, I think makes a more sincere effort to be true to Nabokov's vision than Kubrick does. Kubrick, I think, pulls away from the subject matter and tries to displace it into a more acceptable arena. This movie is absolutely about the subject of sexual obsession as it goes both ways between these two people, and I think that it is probably not correct to say it ends abruptly. I think it ends where it has to end, with this revelation about Lolita's true feelings, and I think that that reveals the real subject of the novel, which is how men are absolutely controlled by their own delusions about themselves and about their romances.
I remember something that Louis Malle told me when he made Pretty Baby, a film that touches into the same area. And Mr. Malle said, he said, you know, I think young girls know everything. He said, and then they spend the rest of their lives being taught to forget it.
Well, Lolita knows a lot more than Humbert does in this movie and in the novel, that's for sure.
All right, but what I'm saying is, Mal's idea that he expressed to me is provocative and rich. This film doesn't come close to touching any of that.
Oh, I think it does touch it. I don't think it's a successful film, but I think it is a very sincere film, and I think it's a more faithful adaptation, actually.
Well, the Kubrick film is haunting, in my opinion. This film is not.
Okay, when we come back, James Caan stars as Philip Marlowe, the man on the mean streets in Poodle Springs.
$100 a day plus expenses.
Named Poodle Springs, and like a lot of poodles, it has an impeccable pedigree. It is based on the last Philip Marlowe novel by the great American noir writer Raymond Chandler, who left it unfinished when he died in 1959. 30 years later, it was finished by another master of the genre, Robert Parker. Now it's been made into a movie starring James Caan, directed by Bob Rafelson of Five Easy Pieces, and written by Tom Stoppard. Now, with collaborators like that, you'd think it would be great, but actually I was a little disappointed. Caan stars as Marlowe late in his career, and as the movie opens, he's done a very uncharacteristic thing. After knowing her for only 3 days, he has married a rich girl decades younger than he is.
I'm just a lug. There are things I can do. I can shoot. I can keep my word. I can tail a guy who's walking backwards. I can open a door into a dark room where there's trouble waiting. So I do them. I find work that fits what I do. I get $100 a day. I can't be bought or pushed, not even for love.
Marlowe was on a case that began with another private eye, called him up, and then apparently was shot dead in the middle of the phone call.
Hey, Marlowe?
Who's asking?
Libby wants to talk to you. Let's go.
You got a light?
I said let's go.
I said you got a light.
Sure.
His new father-in-law, played by Joe Don Baker, isn't too pleased that Marlowe is still working as a professional snoop, especially when the trail seems to lead to Daddy.
I gave you a house.
You gave Laura a house in Poodle Springs.
Well, what is it with you in Poodle Springs? It's no different from a dozen other nice little towns out in the
Except
desert.
it's the one closest to Nevada. So you're moving it across the state line where gambling isn't against the law.
Moving Poodle Springs?
By moving the border.
The plot is so hard to follow, you're reminded that Raymond Chandler himself couldn't explain the plot of his novel, The Big Sleep. Now, I didn't mind about the plot in Poodle Springs, though I thought the movie was too slow and laid back. That was the problem. It was too talky, and the Caan as Marlowe didn't seem to have the razor-sharp instincts of Chandler's classic Private Eye. If he had, he would never have gone anywhere near that new young wife of his. Still, the movie develops a nice, murky atmosphere. Poodle Springs is a made-for-TV original and starts playing next weekend on HBO.
Well, I enjoyed it more than you did, Roger. I liked the atmosphere, of course, but I liked Caan. This is where we disagree. I thought the weariness, the battle-scarred Caan, and he has been, he's had a tough career, was perfect for the late Philip Marlowe. I mean, late in the sense, late in his career. And that match I liked a lot. I thought everything read right across Caan's face perfect.
But did you think that Philip Marlowe was as sharp as he should have been? Remember, he's always the wise guy who knows all the angles in most of his movies.
He's the best of the breed, yeah.
And he sees through women like this woman that he has married. I mean, if you go back to The Big Sleep, he sees right through those young women. Now he's married to one. What's happened?
Older. I really think, yeah, okay. That's the problem.
Okay.
When we come back, our video pick of the week, a fresh look at one of the most famous films of the century.
You're getting sleepy. Very sleepy. No, wait. You're getting hungry. Very hungry.
Feed your late-night craving with Gorditas. Warm, hearty flatbread, a blend of 3 cheeses, and your choice of mouth-watering salsas. Just 99 cents each.
Siskel and Ebert's Video Pick of the Week is brought to you by Nestle Raisinets. At the movies or at home, Raisinets.
Our video pick this week is Image of an Assassination, a new documentary that has as its centerpiece the famous 8mm home movie that a Dallas businessman named Abraham Zapruder shot of the Kennedy assassination. For years, these images have been familiar to us, but usually in grainy, scratched, and faded bootleg versions. Recently, however, the Zapruder family authorized a digital enhancement of the original print, which is kept in the National Archives. Experts blew up every frame to a 4x5-inch negative and painstakingly removed flaws and enhanced the image. And here is the result, a film seen with much improved color, detail, and focus, and including about 40% more width from the exposed film that was hidden between the sprocket holes. Assassination experts will no doubt scrutinize this film for additional clues. Ordinary people will be saddened once again by the shaky but unforgettable record of the tragic shooting. And the story of the film's history makes an interesting tale, too. In fact, that's what most of Image of an Assassination is about. It's in video stores right now.
Now let's take another look at the movies we reviewed on this show. We split on The Mask of Zorro, starring Anthony Hopkins, and Antonio Banderas. I enjoyed Hopkins, but I found it mostly to be a swashbuckler without many thrills. Roger, however, thought it was well-made and entertaining. 2 thumbs down for Polish Wedding, a working-class romance with too many overwritten, colorful scenes for its own good. 2 big thumbs up, however, for the outrageous R-rated comedy There's Something About Mary. We both howled. Others may be shocked. 2 thumbs down for Adrian Lyne's straightforward version of Lolita, which comes across as a minor pathological study. The movie will have an Oscar-qualifying theatrical run in Los Angeles beginning next week and can be seen on Showtime cable beginning August 2nd. Then it will be back in theaters September 25th. But a split vote on Poodle Springs, the Raymond Chandler detective story. I enjoyed James Caan as Philip Marlowe, but Roger thought that the Marlowe character should have been smarter than he is portrayed in this film. The movie airs on HBO beginning July 25th. And remember, you can hear our reviews on the web at Siskel-Ebert.com. And next week, we'll be back with reviews of more new movies, including Steven Spielberg's Saving Private Ryan, starring Tom Hanks, Edward Burns, and Matt Damon. And also Mafia, the new comedy from Jim Abraham, one of the creators of Airplane and Naked Gun. That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.